On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, we're joined by Clemente Almanza to draft the entire Thunder home schedule. Who can craft the best Thunder home package between me and Clemente? How good is this home slate for fans? We'll talk about it all on today's Locked On Thunder podcast.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member, and editor-in-chief over at thunderousintentions.com, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. On today's show, brought to you by Birddogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA or enter the code LockedOnNBA for a free white tech hat with any purchase. You will not want to take your Birddogs off. We promise you. We're joined today by Clemente Almanza to discuss the Thunder schedule. Specifically, we're going to draft every home game, drafting all 40 of the released NBA home games to see who can craft the best regular season home slate, and if the Thunder have a pretty good draw in the home slate or not. Clemente, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I spent the last few days building up my board, and I think I'm ready to pick my 20.
I hope that you're ready, because this is going to be a great challenge. We each have big boards. We're going to let the audience vote on who has the best home slate. Clemente, any overarching schedule thoughts just off the top?
Nothing specifically, but I think OKC has a good chance to get off to a really good start. They got that 6-game homestand to start the season, a season-long 6-game homestand. And just looking at the first 10-ish games of the schedule, it's nothing too crazy. So I feel like if OKC has a really strong start right out the gates, that's really going to improve their chances of finishing outside of the play-in race and get a top 6 seed.
I'm interested to see this Thunder team start, especially Chet Holmgren. I think that the Thunder play a ton of tough bigs early on, which will give us exciting matchups to see how Chet fares in his rookie season. We did a whole podcast about the Thunder roster moves on Monday. If you missed that one, go back and listen to it. A little bit of a later release on Monday. So make sure you go check that out, with the Thunder releasing TyTy and Usman Garuba and picking up Lindy Waters and Olivier Sarr on 2-way contracts. Clemente, anything on that move real quick?
I don't think it's anything surprising. I mean, I know Garuba's been getting like a lot of buzz recently as somebody that the Thunder could keep beyond training camp. But really, when the deal was initially announced, with the Hawks, I really didn't think any of the guys that came in the deal with TyTy, Garuba, and Rudy Gay were going to stay on the team past training camp. And, I mean, I guess OKC decided to give them a chance to see if they have an interest in the open market and see if they could get potentially picked up before the start of training camp around the league.
So the Thunder have their home games, their entire schedule's out as well. You can find that at Thunder's Intentions and at Thunderwire and on our podcast breakdown of it on Friday. But what we're going to do here is we're going to draft every single home game of the season. We're going to break it up into 2 rounds. The first round will be home games prior to December ending. The second round will be home games from January until the end of the season. So that's how we're going to break it up. Clemente, I'm going to give you the first pick. What is the very best home game before December ends?
This is an early one for sure. So if you're going to go to a game, you got to go to this one. I think I'll pick the November 14th matchup against Wemby and the Spurs. The game's going to be on TNT. It's going to be the first TNT or national TV game at OKC since the Chris Paul year, I believe. And on top of that, it's also an end-season tournament game. And on top of that, we also get the much-anticipated Chet versus Wemby matchup. So when I was building my board up, this game was in the back of my mind as a game that could be really up there. And by the time I reached the top spot, this was the only one left. So I got to go with the Spurs game.
I like that pick. It is the first TNT game in OKC. There is another national TV game at home before this matchup happens, and I'm thinking I might go there. There's so many great options in this first half of this season. That was your 1-1 pick. That's a really good 1-1. I'm going to go with, this pick is boom or bust, and it's the New Orleans Pelicans, November 1st on ESPN in OKC. If Zion plays, it's the first time Zion's ever played in OKC in front of fans. It's Chet Holmgren versus Zion, game 3 in OKC, and a Wednesday night in November. The weather's turned. It's right before you get to your weekend and get to high school football and stuff for that final game of the season and before playoffs and everything. So spend your Wednesday in OKC, Zion, Chet. Hopefully Zion plays. And I'll admit this is risky, because there's a good chance Zion doesn't play. But if he does play, and you're there for the first ever Zion-Chet matchup, it'd be pretty special.
All right, like right off the bat, like our boards are completely different because I had that game at 16 when I was doing my rankings. So no consensus top 2 pick in this draft.
Yeah, this is a bad draft in the sense of clarity, because we have very differing opinions here. Number 2 for you.
Number 2, another early one. In fact, it's the very first home game of the season. I had to go with the Denver Nuggets, October 29. The reigning champions are going to be in town, and really the headliner for this game is that it's going to be Chet's first NBA game at home. So the arena's going to be buzzing. Fans are going to be excited to see how Chet looks. The novelty in itself is probably going to pack out the crowd for sure. So I definitely got to go with the Denver Nuggets game on October 29.
Yeah, if this was a snake draft, that would have been my second overall pick for me. I would have done the back-to-back Zion into season opener. The thing with season opener, it's an afternoon game. So on one hand, you look at that and say, well, families could go to that because, you're not battling a late night with school the next day, but you're also battling the church crowd now. And can you get the excitement and build up this team deserves? I don't think that'll be a problem. I think that this game will be sold out. And as you mentioned, with the season opener for the Thunder at home, the home opener, it's also Chet's debut at home. It's also Chet versus Jokic. That's a great pick. So far, I'll admit you have a better team than I do. I've got to try to redeem myself here, and that's why I'm going to go with this Philadelphia 76ers game on November 25th. When you look around NBA Twitter, the reason that fans don't believe Chet Holmgren can be a center or don't believe he can play in the NBA, period, in some cases, is the whole notion that Joel Embiid specifically can just manhandle him and punish him into oblivion. To see Joel Embiid and Chet Holmgren match up in person with your own eyes will be pretty fun. Plus, the Sixers have a lot up in the air right now. Who knows what that team even looks like November 25th? So I'm going to go with the 76ers for that Joel versus Chet matchup.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I'm putting a little bit more stock in terms of just the crowd environment in my board because for my first pick, I think I'm going to pick the November 3rd game against the Warriors. Only time the Warriors are going to be in town. As far as we know, depending on what the remaining 2 games are scheduled to turn out to be. And it's also going to be another in-season tournament game as well. So there's extra stakes involved as well. But I mean, Rylan, we both went to both Warrior home games last year. And I think the crowd was 60-40 Warriors fans. And that was easily the packest I've seen in terms of just people gathering around the court pregame just to see Steph do his pregame warm-ups. So because it's the Warriors and, they've been a dynasty since forever. And since it's still need time, the Warriors are going to be in town as far as we know. And it's an in-season tournament game. I think I got to go with them as my first pick.
That's a great pick. And it's a great team that you're assembling, especially the first ever in-season tournament game in the history of the league for the Thunder. That will be another reason to tune in. And those 2 teams always play really close, fun games in Paycom Center. For my third pick, I'm going to go with the Lakers, November 30th. It's so early that you could see LeBron, you could see AD. It's a Thursday night. Hopefully, the crowd will be rocking. And, of course, you get to see Chet, AD, get to see this Thunder team take on LeBron, get to see Shai, who always plays great against these LA teams. I think that this game could be special, so I've got them number 3.
And just kind of build off of that, I got the second Lakers game as my next pick, December 23rd. Like you mentioned, large Laker crowd. I really think this is probably the best shot of these 2 Laker games where LeBron plays in because I think the November 30th is the is on the second night of a back-to-back for the Lakers. So I think that might hurt your chances from seeing either LeBron or AD there. So I'll go with the Lakers game on December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. Everybody's going to be in a great mood. Hopefully we see like another Santa impersonator walking around the arena again this year. And plus Austin Reeves is going to be in OKC. So I'm sure that's going to bring out a big portion of fans. So I'll pick the second Lakers game for my fourth pick.
I like that pick. Any shot to get LeBron and AD on here, you've got to do it. My fourth pick is going to be the New Year's Eve tradition. This would be a great pick in any single year ever, because the New Year's Eve tradition is so fun and so awesome for fans, and the fans really have been supportive of it, and the fans have really rallied behind it as well. Here's the thing. The Thunder have played a home game on New Year's Eve for the past 15 years. This will mark 16 years. Each time they've been, in the history of their franchise, they've played this game. They are 11-4 all time on New Year's Eve in OKC, which includes an incredible 5-year winning streak to start this whole thing whenever they first moved to OKC. The Thunder have never lost back-to-back New Year's Eve games in their history. They've always played close games. There's only been 4 games that were decided by more than 10 points. And so with history on the line for a holiday game and a team that on paper the Thunder should be able to beat the Nets, you should see a win. But again, with history on the line, and you're going to see Darius Bazley on his revenge tour, he should be getting minutes for the Nets. The Bazley factor, the history factor, the New Year's Eve factor, great game to choose from. It's a 6 o'clock tip. You're going to be out of there. You're going to be having fun afterward with your night scene. So enjoy some entertainment on the front end. Bazley, Nets. I got to do it. Number 4.
Yeah, and after that, this is where if I'm doing like a tier ranking in terms of just the 2023 portion of the schedule, there's like a significant dip after all these games that we listed off. After that, it's kind of slim picking. So I think for our next pick, I'll pick the Clippers game on December 21st. It's going to be the second night of a back-to-back for LA. So I don't know just how high the odds are that either Kawhi or PG play. But, Clippers are going to be another team that OKC is going to be battling with in terms of playoff positioning. Super important game. And obviously there's like a little bit of a rivalry there between the Thunder and Clippers that goes back to the Paul George trade. So I think I'll pick the Clippers for my team.
So I agree with you with your preamble that the tiers fall off. I disagree with where you were going with this. I thought you were going to go with Cleveland on November 8th. I think that is a phenomenal game that then the drop-off comes, because that Cleveland game, you're going to see Chet have to face off with 2 bigs and Mobley and Allen. You're going to see Mitchell versus SGA. Darius Garland is an incredible player to watch. Like you get a ton of interesting guys from Cleveland. You get the Thunder guys too. It's a Wednesday in November. I love this matchup for number 5. So that is where I go with 5. And so we're through 10 picks each. I think this is splitting hairs and picking the worst of a bad situation from here on out with OKC, especially with some of the consequences that have happened with some of these teams before we end it. So as we regroup for the last stretch of December, let's talk about our good friends over at Birddogs. Birddogs are incredible. You're not going to want to take them off. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA. Folks, I think that Birddogs are the Thunder of apparel because they're so versatile. You can wear these Birddog shorts and you can wear them into a business meeting, strut your way in there and look perfectly acceptable and in place in a business setting, and then walk straight out of that meeting and go play basketball because you have the comfort, the flexibility, the breathability, the awareness, the total package of versatile clothing items to do so. It's great. You're going to want to check them out. You're not going to want to take them off. They look good. They also, of course, are very versatile. And when you go right now to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA, you can get a free white tech hat with your purchase. That's promo code LockedOnNBA at birddogs.com. Check it out today because you're not going to want to take off these shorts. We're back on the Lockdown Thunder podcast, on the Lockdown Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball here today with Clemente Almanza. Find him on Twitter at CAlmanza1007. Find me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. I had to remember the numbers. Can we just get you to do Clemente_Almanza? Let's go here, Clemente. Also, Thunderwire.com, Thunderwire.com, ThunderSnations.com, all that good stuff. Clemente, our picks so far. You got the Wemby game to lead it off. Great pick. Great pick on the Nuggets game. I cannot doubt the home opener there. Arguably should have been my first pick. I might have messed up there. The Warriors game was huge, in-season tournament game. Great start. Then you go Clippers, Lakers to round things out. Lakers, Clippers to round things out. I think that your only misstep was that Clippers matchup over a appealing Cavaliers game in my eyes. But you control the board for your sixth selection. Where are you going to go here?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all know by now that I'm a proud OU alumni, and I'm pretty big on homecoming. So I think I got to go with the Atlanta Hawks come to town November 6th, just based on the fact that Trae Young's going to be in town. We get to see that little 2018, I wouldn't say rivalry, but a battle between Trae and Shai, since they're both from the same draft class. Well, whenever Trae Young's in town, it's going to bring in a good crowd. And so I'll go with that game.
Was my mic muted that whole time?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go here with the Timberwolves game for the Thunder. Okay. It's the second time that they play the Timberwolves this season. The first one will be at home in the in-season tournament. The first one will be in Minnesota at the in-season tournament. The second one at home, December 26th. How does Chet Holmgren adjust to playing Rudy and Cat the first time? Or if he gets the better of them, how do they adjust to him? And how do the Thunder overall adjust to playing the Timberwolves, who, of course, ended their season last year in the play-in? I think that's going to be a fun game. Plus, you got Ant Edwards and Lou Dort and SGA and Josh Giddey and everybody else. So I'm going to go with the Timberwolves as this sixth pick.
All right, for my next pick, I think I'll pick the another Eastern Conference team. Really, most of these Eastern Conference games I have near the bottom of my board just because there's no real bad blood between them or entertainment value outside of the obvious core product. But I think I'll go with the Chicago Bulls, November 22nd. Billy Donovan returns to OKC again. The Bulls should be a pretty decent team, and it's a good early test still for OKC to see just where they're at in terms of the league pecking order. So I'll go with Billy's Bulls on November 22nd.
I like that pick. I'm going to go with Detroit Pistons, October 30th. Second home game of the year. It's a back-to-back. Trying to see how they're going to, that's going to be your first opportunity to see if there's any sort of load management or anything with Chet on back-to-backs or not, or what they're going to handle that as. But if Chet plays, you get Chet against Duren and all the bigs of Detroit. You get a fun Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, SGA trio on the perimeter. Plus you have Josh Giddey and all the other guys. So it'll be fun all around to watch these two young teams play. So I'm going to go with Detroit at 7.
Yeah, for me, this deep in the draft, you got to take a little bit of risk. I think I'll pick the Memphis Grizzlies game on December 18th. I think as things stand right now, John Morant will actually miss that game because of his suspension. But if the Grizzlies, obviously advance in the in-season tournament and they end up going to the finals, that means that Morant will be back for this game. So I think I'll pick the Grizzlies game. And even if Ja doesn't play, the Grizzlies still have a very loaded roster, and it should be a really good matchup between two of the better teams in the West.
So I've got, for my last pick of the first round, I've got the Thunder taking on the Utah Jazz. Lauri Markkanen and a spunky Jazz team. Just going to see how Chet handles that team. I'm very Chet focused in this first December stretch. So that leaves you with the New York Knicks on December 17th. So there you go. You've completed out our first round. Let's move on to the second round. and I'll take the first pick of the second round. And this is going to be fun to control the board here. I have two games in contention, and I'm going to side with the earlier contest, and that's the Boston Celtics, January 2nd. Boston has global fans, so there's going to be a contingent of Celtics fans in the arena, but it's still holiday break for, school-age children, so families are still going to get that last hurrah before heading back for the next semester, and plus star-studded lineup on both sides. So to lead things off in round two for our January through April stretch, I'm going to go with the Boston Celtics game on January 2nd.
I think for Mike, it's going to be tough. I'm deciding between two games. But I think I'll edge towards the second Denver Nuggets game on January 31st, another national TV game. It's going to be on ESPN. Obviously, all the things I said about the Nuggets game earlier with my second pick applies here as well. Jokic versus Chet's going to be a great matchup. Shai versus Jamal Murray. And this late in the season, this is going to be a really good test for OKC against the reigning champions. The only negative it has against it is the fact that it's a 9 p.m. tip local time. But yeah, I think I'll stick with Denver here.
So I'm going to take a risk just like you, and this risk might backfire in the here and now. So we're going to do a poll from the fans listening to see who had the best home slate. But we're also, as two guys, we're going to go to every single home game. We're going to keep track throughout the season of if we got these picks right, and which games were actually the best, and compile the scores of them to see who has the better ranking schedule. So this is a huge risk because I don't know if the fans will love this pick at pick 2, but I think it could end up being, when we look back on it, one of the best games of the slate entirely, much less of the second round. Dallas Mavericks, April 14th to end the season. I believe that the Western Conference standings are going to be close, and they're going to be tight, and they're going to be separated by a game or less from the majority of the standings, including the play and including the playoffs. So when you have the potential to play at home in the season finale against Luka and Kyrie with SGA and Josh Giddey and J-Dub and Chet and all the other guys that the Thunder have, when you have the ability for huge playoff implications in that game in the Paycom Center, I'm taking advantage of it. I'm going to draft it with my second overall pick. So I have the bookends of the January through April stretch.
Yeah, I think I'll go the safer route between these Dallas games and choose the Mavericks game on March 14th. Another national TV game. It's going to be on TNT, which I think increases the likelihood that Luka plays against Shai. And those games are always a fun matchup between those two. So I'll go the safer route here and pick the March 14th Mavericks game.
I like it. I like the pick. I'm going to go with my next pick and pick the Houston Rockets game on February 27th. So this is part of a baseball style series with Houston, where you play in Houston the 25th and play in OKC the 27th. If you're on Thunder Twitter at all, you understand the humongous social media rivalry between these two teams. The teams aren't necessarily rivals, but the fan bases certainly are. And so no matter who gets the better of who on February 25th, the overreactions will be crazy, and the build up and buzz for the 27th game will be equally as crazed. And so I think that this will be a great game to attend and a great game to watch and to follow along with.
Yeah, and for my next pick, I'll pick the LA Clippers game on February 22nd. I think this is probably the best shot to see, and either Kawhi or Paul George or both of them. It'll be the first game after the All-Star break. Both of them should be, relaxed and freshened up. So I'll pick the second Clippers game as well, and I add that to my team.
Another great pick. I'm going to go with the Orlando Magic on January 13th. Love the Magic core. Obviously, love the Thunder core. I think it's great.
Yeah, for my next pick, I'll be a little risky here. I'll pick the Suns game on March 29th. This is super late in the season, so I seriously doubt all three of Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal play in it. But, odds are at least one of them plays in this game. And I believe this is the only time Phoenix is in OKC as of right now. So a late season game, but the chance to see, KD and OKC, you can't pass up on that.
A good pick. I think that we're going to see, again, how valuable that ends up being. But I think that at this stage of it, it's a great pick. I'm going to go with the Memphis Grizzlies on March 10th because I believe that this will be the first time that Ja will play in OKC, which will be fun for this season. And I believe that the West will be tight, so this game will matter a lot, and it can be for some massive playoff implications as well. So Memphis, March 10th.
And I don't think I'll go with the Sacramento Kings game on February 11th. This was a super fun matchup last year. All of the OKC Sacramento games last year were super entertaining, high-scoring affairs. And it's going to be like, I believe this is right before the trade deadline, right, Rylan? Or am I misremembering?
Yeah, I believe it is too.
Okay, so that's just going to add like extra intrigue as well. So I'll go with the Sacramento game on February 11th.
So for me, I'm going to go with this next game. It's tough because I've already picked this team and I don't want to go there again. But then the other game I want to go with is probably too late in the season to pick. So I'm going to go with the Minnesota game, the Minnesota Timberwolves game on January 29th. That's going to be my pick because I believe that match will be fun to follow and see the counter punches each side throws.
Yeah, I think I'll just continue to take some risky picks this late in this draft. I'll pick the Spurs game on April 10th. Aldar Wemby probably doesn't play this game. I think it's already been reported, or at least talked about from national media people, that Spurs are probably going to be looking to rest Wemby throughout the season. But, there's always a chance that he ends up playing this game. Maybe he's making a late Rookie of the Year push. So I'll take the risk here and pick the Spurs.
Yeah, that would have been my very last pick because of what you just said, that Wemby's not going to play. And if he doesn't play, I'm not really into the whole Chet Wemby thing without Wemby being there. So I'm going to go with the Indiana Pacers, March 12th. Halliburton is one of my favorite players to watch. Getting to see him in person would be awesome. Didn't play in person last year. And OKC, hopefully he's there this year. And the Pacers should be a really fun bunch, at least competitive for a play-in, if not more, in that Eastern Conference. So I'm in on the Indiana Pacers.
For my next pick, I think I'll pick the Toronto Raptors, February 4th. Raptors probably aren't going to be good this year. Who knows what they do with Siakam? I'm making this pick solely off of the fact that it seems like, Thunder Twitter loves to see the Raptors lose as much as often, especially after spending the last few years fighting them off of all these Shai rumors or fantasies, really. So I'll pick the Raptors game just because it would make the fan base feel good to just blow the Raptors out.
I'm going to take the Hornets game right before that Raptors game, February 2nd, just because we might get to see LaMelo, and LaMelo versus Shai would be cool. And like you said, there's not a ton of appealing options at this part of the draft. So I'm going pure like star power here that could realistically play.
Yeah, and then I guess I'll pick the second Sacramento game on April 9th, late in the season as well. Who knows who's playing for the Kings at this point of the year? Maybe they're still fighting for playoff positioning. Maybe they already have their seed locked up. But, like I said, all the Sacramento games last season were fun, super exciting, entertaining games, and hoping that's the case again with this pick.
Yeah, I'm going to double dip again and do the Rockets rivalry between the fan bases on March 27th, a game where, Houston might be willing to concede, and so you might blow out the Rockets, and then that'd be a great Twitter day as well. So I'm going to go with Rockets March 27th.
And then I think I'll pick the Bucks game, second to last game of the season on April 12th. Giannis probably is going to play, or Drew Holiday, or Chris Middleton, or probably even Brook Lopez. But, I don't know. The Bucks game last year was pretty entertaining. Javon Carter went off against OKC. But this late in the draft, I'll see if Giannis doesn't end up playing this game, which would be pretty cool to see.
Coming up, let's finish out the draft and discuss who has the best draft board. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball. With pick number 10 for me, I'm going to go with the Miami Heat, March 8th. Could see Dame in Miami. Probably will see Dame in Miami. Does Dame, Bam, Jimmy play? If that's the case, this is a great value pick. So that's why I've got to scoop it up here with my 10th pick.
Yeah, this is really slim picking. Like most of my bottom of my board is still available. So I'll pick the Trailblazers game on January 11th because this is probably of the two games that they're playing the best chances of Damian Lillard playing against OKC. But like you said, odds are he's not going to be in Portland. This should be, if he's not there, this should be a pretty easy win for OKC. And I don't know, I guess a nice, easy blowout win definitely is relaxing to have every now and then for the fan base. So I'll take the January 11th Blazers game.
I'm going to take the Washington Wizards because it should be an easy win for the Thunder, but they also have some fun players who you want to check in on. I mean, you want to see Black Coulibaly, you want to see, Jordan Poole just can fill it up, even though it'd be empty stats and they'll lose. You can still get a bucket for you. And Kyle Kuzma, of course, is a guy that has a lot of notoriety among Thunder fans and just NBA fans in general. So I'm going to go with the Wizards. It should be an easy win. Should get to go there and just relax and have fun and not have that high pressure on you and get to see a different team that you don't get to see once a year.
Yeah, and for my final pick, I think I'll pick the Jazz game on March 20th. This point of the season, Jazz are likely tanking, trying to lose as many games as possible. And this late in the season, OKC is probably fighting for playoff positioning. So it'll be a nice breather to have an easy win during what is likely going to be a very stressful last few weeks of the season for OKC.
So that leaves me with a second Portland game, January 23rd. I've got that game for the end of the draft, which is going to be fun. I mean, Scoot, Shaden Sharp, SGA, a lot of fun guard play in this one. Plus, old friend Jeremy Grant returns to town, and that'll be a lot of fun too. So that's the draft. Who do you think had the best slate of games of this home season? Clemente, doing this draft, building out your big board. How do you think that the Thunder home slate is? What games are you looking forward to? And how do you think that they've done at breaking up these games?
I'm really excited to see OKC play in front of a national TV audience for sure. They go from playing just 2 last year to 8 this year. Plenty of games on here that's going to be at home as well. It's just going to be super exciting just to see this young group of guys play on a national stage for the first time, just seeing how they respond with the extra added attention. But I think the schedule breaks down to your typical Thunder schedule. I mean, they got a very busy March and January, which was similar to last year. But I mean, yeah, like I said, it's that 6 game homestand at the beginning of the season. I think that's to be super crucial. That's to see like what type of team OKC is, because the first few games of the year, it seems relatively easy, and OKC should win for most of them. And that's the case, then I think it will be easy to say that OKC's got like a legit squad this year. So, just exciting times for sure.
I think that you dominated the December stretch of games. I think that you're going to have the edge there. I think I made it for a little bit in January, but you might have delivered a punch that was too hard to overcome. You really did well in that December to October stretch of games there. So we'll see, and leave it up to the fans to vote who had the better home slate. You can vote on Twitter on the poll. You can vote on the YouTube comment section as well. Whoever you think had the better slate of games, and which games. Give me your top 5 games that you are looking forward to the most at home to watch this season. Clemente, it's going to be fun to watch this team play, but also, like you said, national TV games, but not only that, in OKC, like actually having the national audience and the national television crews and everything in OKC is going to be a lot of fun and a different feel than what it has been these last few years. I think that this team is the most hyped and excited feeling that the fan base has had since the OK3 year. Do you think that that's fair to say?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, the Chris Paul year was just super fun because of the relative low expectations, but in terms of just pure excitement and expected success, I think this is definitely the best squad since that OKC3 year.
It's going to be fun to see how it all unfolds. Clemente, what are you cooking up here for the rest of this offseason? Anything in particular you want to promote?
You can just continue following my work at OKC Thunder Wire. Give me a follow on Twitter as well, Almanza 1007. Those 2 things are really the 2 things I do the most for my work. So I would definitely appreciate it if you guys gave my stuff a read.